Well, hello, and welcome to BVS Media Group CommTALK. Today I'm with Herb Stevenson. He is a renowned international business consultant, business coach, business turnaround, and also a spiritual leader. And I think today we're going to talk a little bit about business coaching, but there's a book that Herb has recently written, and so let's get into it.
Okay.
Herb, I read the preface to Bear Attention, and it's fascinating. It is fascinating. I probably have a lot of questions, but I'm going to kind of ask you, what led you to develop Bear Attention as this book for coaching at the point of contact?
Okay. The best way to describe it is I wanted to capture everything I had learned over the years in coaching, but I wanted it in practical terms. So I'd read a prior book on coaching, but it ended up being more of a textbook, which means not too many people are going to read it. It was a mixture of all my a variety of coaching experiences, but had a lot of theoretical type of articles as well. But after it came out, I realized I needed something that really captured what I do. So what makes this a little more complicated, I guess you would say, is I was Gestalt. I am Gestalt trained. I used to teach at the Gestalt Institute of Cleveland in the organizational and clinical side. And Gestalt is a presence-based approach to either therapy, coaching, or organizational development. And I didn't feel like there was a clear explanation of not only what is it to stay present, which is bear attention, but it's also how to apply that, how to do it in practical terms. An example, one of the things that in the book is a chapter on chasing. It's very easy to fall into a performance trap if you're a coach. I want to show you my worth and make sure you want me to come back type of thing. Okay? And so I'm looking for a way to show you my value, but what ends up happening is I'm chasing an issue that instead of sitting there being patient and supporting you to get present and pay attention to what is the core issue that you would like to work on, I get in my own way. And so when I put that out there, the feedback I've gotten from people is, boy, that chasing chapter, exactly what I do, and I always get in trouble. So that's the driving force of the book. The other aspect of it, when you brought in the fact about spiritual, Gestalt by its very nature, especially in the later years when Fritz Perls developed it, was a way of being in the world, very spiritual. A lot of people don't know this, but when he formed the Gestalt Institute of Cleveland, he required all of the faculty to study Buddhism for a whole year. And the reason for it is if you're not fully present, not fully attentive to even your own self-awareness, what good are you going to be for the other person except you're going to try to act like a football coach and tell them what to go do? And so I've been going to Gestalt for 30 years. I'm no longer practicing very much there. Occasionally I will. But I took it serious that the spiritual aspect had to be a critical part of the process, which is not saying, I sit around and go om all the time. It's saying I'm constantly focused on how do I stay present. And then how do I support my clients to do the same thing. And so all my work that I do right now embodies that. I may not use the same language, but I teach leaders how to be more present, which means how to better listen. Some of the prior podcast people may have heard, I've talked about this. The average person stops listening at about 20% in, and they start coming up with a rebuttal or making their own meaning of, I know I've heard this before, and we really haven't. And that's why most of us as spouses say you don't listen, because we don't. And that's true of most leaders as well. They are in the false urgency or the immediacy of the moment, thinking I've got to come to a fast conclusion so I can move forward. Not true. 3 principles talked about in the book, slow is fast, less is more, small is big, is saying if you're very present and you're really paying attention to this moment, you're probably going to increase your effectiveness and therefore save time. And that's a consistent process of everything I do.
Interesting. Well, when you mentioned, Gestalt and that practice as well, you have other influences that have helped you lead to this whole element of presence. But I noticed Toltec and Native American spirituality, which, of course, that's your core value, I would say, and then holism. If you could explain a little bit about the Toltec influence and what that is, I'm curious, actually.
Well, the Toltec, there's a variety of teachers. The most well-known are Don Miguel Ruiz and his 2 sons. They came up with called the 5 Agreements, which is basically a presence-based set of agreements of how to be in the world. The other thing that the Toltec, though, came up with, and why I included a little bit of it in there, it's a very strong spiritual background, very similar to other spiritual practices, whether it be Buddhism or Native American. Everybody is saying the same thing. If you are fully present, which means you're in the center of yourself, you're not out here chasing shiny objects or things you think are important. You're just sitting here listening. Your effectiveness as a leader goes up. So one of the things that's in the book, the Toltec, is stalking. And a lot of times when we think stalking, we think of the negative side about, some perverts chasing somebody. Stalking is saying I'm going to develop the capacity to witness myself, so when I start telling a story about what's going on, instead of listening to the person, I stop. And when I stop, the person will notice I'm listening better, and they get more attentive to us as well, so it creates this, let's just call it, contagious sense of presence. And so there's an entire process around stalking. There's a lot of other teachers, Lujan Matus, Thun Mayers. I have this habit. Once I start reading something, I read everything I possibly can find.
Why not?
Yeah, so I've read thousands of pages of this stuff. So the core of it is they're saying if I stay fully present to the moment, I will be more effective. So holism, J.C. Smuts developed this in 1926. Most people know the phrase, the whole is more than the sum of its parts. If you read it the rest of the way, what he's saying is the essence is more than the sum of the parts. So your essence is more than the sum of your body. It's more than the sum of your thoughts. So I bring holism into it from the point of view of saying is that we are in a constantly evolving process, which is partly what coaching does. It helps us learn to evolve beyond what we've taught we're supposed to be and teaches us how to be who we really are. That makes sense. So for me, my goal has always been, since I was about 38, was a realization that what I really enjoy is supporting people to be more fully who they are. In Gestalt, they would call that the paradoxical theory of change. The more I just be who I am, the less problems I have, the less worry I'm out chasing all these dangerous things like we have in our country right now.
So in a way, it's helping someone, and I'm trying to digest this into helping someone really find their self and centering themselves without the outside influences and finding who they are right now.
In this moment.
In this moment. Right. We're in this moment right now.
Yeah. So it doesn't mean we forget all the skills we've had and all the things we've learned. It's just how we apply them. And our application for that is truly in the moment. That's when we can decide what we need to do and how to go about doing it. So what was the other ones there we're interested in?
I was asking, there was a few other things.
No, there was, you said Toltec, smuts, and...
I'm fascinated by the Toltec, but that's another conversation in itself. Phenomenology and existentialism.
They're all saying the same thing, it's about being fully present. So phenomenology is we describe, we do not tell a story, we don't interpret. I notice your eyes are looking at me.
Yes.
Instead of me making a meaning is you're looking at me kind of funny, okay? We interpret naturally to feel safe. Phenomenology teaches us just to be descriptive. So from a point of view of, obviously the complexity of theories I'm going to bring in is going to show up. Phenomenology partly is by Eugene Genlin called focusing, and it's focusing only on an experience like sitting here, and you're noticing just what are you noticing sitting here. Could be energy in your body. It could be you're noticing that you're looking pretty intently at me. It could be a variety of things. But what it does is we shut the mind off and stop the interpretation. You shut the mind off and the interpretation, you suddenly experience something different. Example, did you ever walk out and see a sunrise, took your breath away?
Almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything like that would do that,
right.
that makes you pause and you actually almost feel like you experienced that whole thing, what you just saw, would be a description of phenomenology because you did not interpret it, you just experienced it. And existentialism is very similar to that. They're often tied together.
Interesting. There's one thing that, and maybe it's part of phenomenology, and it goes back many years when my daughter and I were riding a bike towards the sunset, and the sun was oversized. It was unbelievably beautiful. Mm-hmm. And we just together experienced that moment and never forgets it. She always brings it up.
Never had to interpret it.
No.
Bingo.
Yep. That's fascinating.
But we don't stop to do that. So I've talked about this in a way that applies in a very simple way. Most people struggle with relationships especially executives, with their children and their spouse. So the exercise that I teach is they go home and for 1 minute every night, they just simply look in their eyes with soft eyes. Don't tell a story. They ask you what they're looking at. You say, I'm looking at you and I don't do it enough. Within 30 days, they will expect to find out if you're going to do that. And it changes the relationship because you're acknowledging and validating their existence. So it can be that simple. It doesn't have to be anything grandiose, but you had your moment. You'll never forget it.
Oh, no. And then when you start looking at the total span of life, you have many moments, but do you value them? I think you should.
We should, but we do move past them frequently.
Yeah. But then there's always one, maybe more than that just is part of what made it a very positive experience of being here. But fascinating. So when you look at all of these elements, this is what really you've decided to kind of cull it together to develop the book. So if you want to kind of bring me into what led you to write Bare Attention?
Well, over the course of all these years, I began to realize that regardless of the discipline or the philosophy or the spiritual practice, they're all talking about the same thing. How do you get fully present to life? Live in the moment. Instead of life dictating you dictate your life. And that's not saying that you ignore all the social constraints and things of that nature. That would be suicide. But it is saying is how do you find a way to be who you are in this world? I'll give myself an example. When I was a banker and still a consultant, I wore 3-piece pinstripe suits every day. Didn't have long hair. Sure as hell didn't dress this way.
I admire that you have long hair still.
Yeah, I do.
Unfortunately, mine went away a long time ago.
So what I'm saying is I recognized I did not fit in that world per se. I was living based on what everybody told me I was supposed to do to be successful. Work like my father, like long hours, work hard, overachieve. And then one day I realized that I had it backwards. You know, I shouldn't be living to work. I should find a way to work so that I can live the life that I really want to do. And a lot of people use those phrases, but actually don't practice them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stay within daily practices to support myself. So I meditate every day. The number of executives now who are willing to listen to me to meditate is dramatically increased because they're realizing what's not working. So let's try something new. Getting people to go for a walk, get away from their desk, quit talking to the computer monster, try to be more relational. One of the ways to do that is get up. If people are back in the office, why not get off your desk and walk down and say hello, and then whatever it takes 2 minutes to do versus 20 minutes of an email. Mm-hmm. We're highly inefficient now. I was just at a group and I was talking about email, and I said, you know, if you write a long email to me that's more than 3 sentences, I probably won't read it. And they got really upset because people personalize this is a work of art, their emails. And they were very upset about it. And I said, well, that's fine, but what I would do is I would call you up and saying, obviously this is very important to you. You've got a lot of details. Tell me what you need me to know so I can respond to you in 2 minutes versus me spending 20 minutes and then 20 minutes writing. So we've killed an hour, which could take 3 minutes. And we've lost that.
Yeah.
And so emails have become more of a hindrance in many cases. So the things that I tell them is if you're going to write a long email, then put it into a memo. In the email that you attach it to, you say, this is what this is what I need from you, and this is what I needed. Clear direction. They can decide then when they want to do it, and if it's really important, they'll pull it out, and they may even print it. But it's now established a prioritization about, and what do I want, instead of oftentimes this long regurgitation of, I call it self-importance.
I think, well, you know, and sometimes we just continue doing our things, but then we've become slaves of technology overall.
We have, and the issue is how do we use it to support us and enhance the quality of our life? Not to create avoidance of social contact, because that's really a lot of it. And COVID did not help us at all.
No.
It isolated us. It took us out of the social interaction that was happening. I have companies that have hired people during COVID. They didn't know that the normal was to get up, take a shower, get dressed, and drive to work and drop the kids off. Now they're being asked to do that, and they're saying, well, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for that. And you think about it, I mean, they had no reference point to that. Nobody assumed to tell them that eventually this is going to happen. And they're also saying is, well, now you want me to have a pay cut because if I had to do all those things, that's going to cost me money. That wasn't agreed to. And so we are in a whole lot of just crazy places. So, yeah.
So coming back to then writing Bear Attention, all of these areas of thought and guidance and coaching. When did you write the book, and where is it today, and is it being launched?
It's launched. Let's see. Probably wrote over 24 and 25. It probably got published early this year or late last year. Honestly, I have no idea. My editor takes care of all that stuff.
Well,
it is launched. It's on Amazon. It's gotten good reviews. I've gotten a lot of feedback. People look at it, they'll see that there's some internationally and globally known people who actually review the book, and Barry Johnson and a few other people did. They're friends of mine. So it's and I'm being asked. I've had companies come out. They bought 70 of the books and then brought me out to train off of the book. So that's happening as well.
That's it. It's become its own
It's
business development model in a way.
It's starting to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, the book itself is for business coaches, or it can be for anyone who is a leader or wants to help people.
As it said in the if you read the foreword,
Yeah.
It could be for therapists, coaches, leaders. And when I wrote it, that's what I was approaching, is I wanted to create something that would be useful to people who come from a presence-based coaching, a therapist, but also from a leadership point of view. I wanted to create it as much of a universal, but if you just stick to coaching, it could be any type of coaching, because right now there's probably 100 types of coaching out there. There's health coaches, life coaches.
I'd like to recommend people to really Bear Attention by Herb Stevenson, helping coaches become more effective and understanding how to be in the presence themselves with their clients. Thank you all for watching BVS Media Group CommTALK today, and feel free to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.